Today's story is from Brian Eberhardt, who has worked at Multnomah County Drainage District for 4.5 years. He's originally from Corvallis, Oregon, and has worked throughout the state on recreation and natural resource programs.
I am Brian Eberhardt. I am a project manager, and I also am our emergency manager.
Brian shares more about how he explains what MCDD does and how it impacts the community.
We protect people from flooding. We do our best to reduce risk and make people aware of it. My job is to help train and prepare for the next flood. Flooding doesn't happen every day, but it can happen, and there's a lot of history of it happening here. So it's like planning for the future, planning for when it will happen. We want to be ready for it. I think our organization as a whole is trying to be less about keeping water out and figuring out how to live with water. Thinking about how we can reduce flood risk while also being in tune with our environment and our community, maybe learning how to live with a certain amount of risk as well. Our day-to-day job is actually not managing flooding on the Columbia River or the Columbia Slough, which I think is what most people would think about. It's actually reducing flood risk in the neighborhoods and the industrial areas and the commercial areas and the airport so that they keep being able to do what they're doing. Our crews focus primarily on pump stations and removing water that's already here and keeping the land dry so people are safe and can have the jobs and the recreation that they do.
As the emergency manager, Brian shares about a few recent lower risk flooding events.
We've actually had 4 events since I've been here. We've had 3 years in a row in the spring where we have snow melting and rain events that are causing downstream flooding. Nothing that was severe or caused a lot of damage, but it has caused some erosion. So a lot of our job during these lower level events is to see how it performs and then make repairs or adjustments and design changes as needed. Our response has been about who's vulnerable in these situations. So there's a lot of houseboats, oftentimes houseless communities that live on the levee system. And so a lot of our role is to say, hey, the water's rising. These people may not be aware of it. How do we get the word out to them?
Recently, Brian and the MCDD team have been working on improving their connection to the community and partnered with the Watershed Council to host an annual event.
Tomorrow is the 24th annual Columbia Slough Watershed Council Regatta event. It's great to welcome people onto our campus and see our pump station and our levee system and understand how the levee impacts the Columbia Slough and what it is today. I'm most interested for tomorrow is what people have to share about their experience here in the watershed. Why do they care about it? Why did they come here? What compels them to live here? How do they benefit from the way that it is today? And what they're concerned about, and have that as a feedback loop for our planning and our outreach.
Thanks for listening to a part of Brian's story. To find out more about the Portland Metropolitan Levee System, please visit www.mcdd.org/life along the Columbia.